At 2:17 in the morning, my wife was lying on the bedroom rug, pale, breathing short, and I was holding the phone with my hand shaking, waiting for the ambulance to answer. In that second, I thought, I bought this in secret so I could feel like a man again. And I almost lost the woman who had slept beside me for 62 years. My name is Walter. I am 87 years old. And before you think this is a beautiful story about vitality, let me tell you the truth. This is a confession. I ignored signs for years. I ignored my body, ignored my shame, ignored my wife, ignored her age too. Then I took something in secret, felt a strength I thought was dead come back, became vain, became rushed, and almost destroyed my marriage in a way no man should ever live through. My wife's name is Eleanor. She is 84 years old. She is not fragile like glass, but she is also not a 30-year-old woman. In my pride, I forgot that. That night, she was wearing a blue nightgown, sitting on the edge of the bed. The room was warm. The old bedside lamp lit only half of her face, and I was standing in the doorway like a man who finally had the courage to enter his own marriage again. Except courage without care can become dangerous. If you want to see exactly what I started taking, I left it in the first pinned comment below this video. You do not need to click now. Just remember this: first pinned comment. The story only makes sense when you understand what my body gained and what my head almost ruined. For almost 8 years, I lived failing in bed. I do not like that word, but it is the most honest one. I failed. I invented hip pain, sleepiness, medication, blood pressure, heartburn, any excuse. The problem is that a repeated excuse becomes a wall. Eleanor first tried to talk. Then she tried to touch me. Then she only lay on her back and turned off the light. And when a woman stops trying, her silence makes more noise than any argument. I told myself, she understands, we are old. But inside I knew it was not only old age. I still looked at her. I still felt love, tenderness, and desire. But my body responded as if it were locked from the inside. That is a shame old men rarely admit. It was one night, in the kitchen, that I started searching. The microwave clock showed 1:36. Eleanor was asleep in the bedroom. I was typing ridiculous questions on my phone, afraid someone would find out, as if there were still anyone awake to judge me. And that was when I discovered the first piece: circulation. The male body depends on blood flow. It does not depend on pride or memories of youth. There is a molecule called nitric oxide that helps vessels relax. When that system weakens, blood does not arrive the way it used to. And without that, the body can love, but it cannot respond. That made me angry, because I spent years thinking my problem was a lack of manhood inside me. Maybe it was a lack of flow, a lack of energy, a lack of support. Then came the hormonal part. My test said, normal for your age. What a cruel phrase. Normal for your age does not mean normal for a marriage. Total testosterone does not tell the whole story. There is free testosterone. There is belly fat increasing bad hormonal conversions. There is sleep that is too light. There is cellular energy dropping. That was when I started seeing the same ingredients appearing over and over: maca, tribulus, epimedium, fenugreek, saw palmetto, alpha-lipoic acid, forskolin, milk thistle, and piperine. I did not know those names, but they appeared connected to circulation, energy, hormonal support, metabolism, and absorption. At first, I bought separate bottles, Maca from one website, Tribulus from another. Epimedium that looked like it had been packed in a basement. I hid everything behind an old bottle of vitamin C. Later, I discovered a formula that brought the 9 active ingredients together in one capsule a day. Alpha Vita. The link is in the first pinned comment. I am telling you early because many men close the video later and cannot find it again. First pinned comment. That is where you see the ingredients, the explanation, and the guarantee. Now, listen carefully. I called that a remedy because old men call everything a remedy. But Alpha Vita is not medication. It is a nutritional supplement. It is not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure any disease. Each man responds in his own time, and some do not respond the same way. I took it in secret. That was my first mistake. Not because taking a supplement is wrong. What was wrong was hiding from Eleanor a hope that also belonged to her. I hid it because I was afraid of failing again. Then I hid it because I started liking having something of my own, a small, private secret that made me feel in control. In the first weeks, the change was discreet. I woke up feeling less heavy. I started walking to the bakery without stopping twice. I began choosing a better shirt. I started shaving with more care. Eleanor noticed before I did. One morning, she poured coffee into my cup and said, "You seem more alive." Those 4 words almost knocked me down. The problem is that when a man spends too much time feeling dead inside, any sign of life can go straight to his head. I started walking differently. I started speaking louder. I started looking at myself in the mirror as if I were going back in time. But vitality does not give youth back. It gives responsibility back. The night of the scare started innocently. Eleanor left the lamp on. I did not stay in the living room pretending I was watching the news. I went upstairs early. I sat beside her. She smiled in a shy way, like someone who did not want to frighten a man who had finally come back home. I held her hand. She said, "It has been a long time." I answered, "I know." Up to that point, everything was right. The mistake came when I forgot that love after 80 needs calm. I wanted to recover years lost in one night. I wanted to prove to her, to myself, to the ghost of the man I used to be, that I still could. And when she said, "Slowly, Walter," I heard it, but I did not obey it with my heart. I was so focused on my return that I did not notice her body asking for care. Minutes later, she became short of breath. At first, I thought it was emotion. Then she put her hand on her chest. She said she was dizzy. I got up fast, hit my knee against the dresser, tried to get water, and when I turned around, she was on the floor. There was nothing cinematic. There was no scream. Just that dry sound of her body hitting the rug and my heart turning into stone. I called emergency services with my voice breaking. While I waited, I held her hand and kept repeating, "Eleanor, stay with me." She opened her eyes a little and whispered, "You scared me." That sentence haunted me for months. At the hospital, they said it did not look like a heart attack, thank God. It was a combination of blood pressure, anxiety, effort, and shock. The doctor talked about age, care, rhythm, communication. He said intimacy at an advanced age is not forbidden, but it needs to respect both bodies. I sat in that cold hallway chair and understood something brutal. I did not almost kill my wife because I had taken a capsule. I almost lost her because I turned my improvement into haste, secrecy, and ego. And if you are listening to this because you want to become a man again, listen. Being a man at 87 is not proving strength. It is knowing how to contain strength to protect the person you love. When we came back home, Eleanor did not sleep in our bedroom. She went to the guest room. I did not argue. I did not have that right. I spent the night sitting in the kitchen with the Alpha Vita bottle on the table, staring at it as if it were a witness. The next day, I placed the bottle in front of her. I said, I had been taking this in secret. She looked at it for a long time. Then she asked, "Why did you hide it from me?" I could have said it was so I would not create hope. I could have said it was shame. All of that was true. But the bigger truth was another one. I said, because I wanted to come back first, before admitting that I had gone away. She cried, quietly, without drama. And I would have preferred that she had screamed. That day, I understood that the first pinned comment of this video is not only about buying something. It is about a man deciding whether he will keep hiding or whether he will open a conversation he should have opened years ago. If you are going to look at Alpha Vita, look. It is there. But do not hide from the person who shares your bed something that could change both of your lives. During the following weeks, I learned to go slowly. I kept taking one capsule a day, but now Eleanor knew. And before any closeness, there was conversation. Embarrassing conversation, yes. But a long marriage survives embarrassing conversations. What it does not survive is silence full of lies. I started studying again, but this time without fantasy. Maca, from what I read, has long been used for vitality and endurance. Epimedium contains Icarian, related to blood flow support. Tribulus appears in discussions about male drive. Fenugreek is mentioned in hormonal support. Saw palmetto has a long history in men's health. Alpha-lipoic acid connects with cellular energy. Piperine helps with absorption. Forskolin and milk thistle enter the part of metabolism and general support. None of that is magic, and I do not want you to hear magic from my mouth. What made sense to me was the combination. After 80, the body does not fail because of just one thing. It fails because of several small drops. Circulation, energy, sleep, hormones, confidence, metabolism. I needed daily support. That is why Alpha Vita made sense in my routine. Not as a miracle, as part of a more careful return. The link is in the first pinned comment. There are the ingredients and a 60-day guarantee. I like that, because men our age have already spent too much money on empty promises. If you want to look calmly, not out of desperation, not out of vanity. Look while thinking about what you want to save. Because I almost lost Eleanor trying to prove I was still capable. 46 days later, she came back to our bedroom. She placed the pillow on her side, adjusted the blanket, and said, "Do not think this means I am ready for everything." I answered, "It means you are here. For me, that is already a lot." She looked at me and said, "Then learn how to be here too." That sentence became my rule. Be here. Not in the past, trying to be the 40-year-old man. Not in vanity, trying to prove myself. not in fear, pretending to be sleepy. Here, with the body I have, with the wife I have, with care, presence, and honesty. What matters is that she fell asleep holding my wrist, after years turned to the other side. The next morning she said, "You were careful." For an 87-year-old man, after almost losing everything, that was the most beautiful compliment of my life. A man named George from Los Angeles, California, wrote to me. He was 79 years old. He looked at the ingredients in the first pinned comment, started Alpha Vita, talked to his wife and also to his doctor. Months later he wrote, "The difference was not only in my body, it was that I stopped being afraid to talk." Results vary. Each body is its own body. Some feel changes earlier, others less. If you have a heart condition, high blood pressure, diabetes, or take medication, talk to a health professional. An intelligent man does not mix pride with health. Still, if you want to see what I used, it is in the first pinned comment. Alpha Vita, 9 plant-based active ingredients, 1 capsule a day, full explanation, guarantee. But I repeat, do not use it in secret the way I did. The secret was almost more dangerous than anything. If your wife is still alive, still in the house, still asks whether you ate, still folds your shirt, still leaves the lamp on, do not treat that as guaranteed. There is a moment when a woman stops waiting, and when that happens, there is no supplement, doctor, or speech that easily gives back what you wasted. Today the bottle stays visible in the bathroom, beside her hand cream. Sometimes she picks it up, reads the label again, and makes a serious face. I say, "Is everything okay?" She answers, "Just checking if you did not start hiding anything again." I accept the joke because I deserve the vigilance. I also changed my routine. I walk in the morning, I drink more water, I sleep earlier. I do not try to turn one capsule into an excuse to ignore the rest. Alpha Vita entered as part of greater care, not as a substitute for responsibility. If, after thinking, you want to look at the formula, the path is in the first pinned comment, not in the lost description. First comment at the top. Read the ingredients, see the guarantee, and decide calmly. Just do not keep pretending nothing is happening, because life passes quickly even when we have already lived almost everything. 8 years of silence between husband and wife may seem like little to someone looking from the outside. For someone sleeping in the same bed, afraid of his own touch, 8 years is a prison. I do not want you to reach 87 to learn the way I learned. If your energy is low, try to understand your body. If your circulation is not the same, take care of it. If your hormones have changed, investigate. If your marriage is cold, speak before the coldness becomes a habit. And if you use anything to help your body, do not turn help into a secret. Today, Eleanor is back sleeping in our bedroom. Some nights she is still more distant. I respect that. Other nights, she leaves her hand over mine before turning off the light. I do not pull, I do not rush, I do not demand. I just stay, because presence is also love. Last night she looked at me over her glasses and said, "You are learning, Walter." I smiled. At 87, being called a learner by the woman I almost lost was a blessing. So before closing this video, listen to the last thing I have to say. What I took is in the first pinned comment. Alpha Vita helped me feel a change I no longer expected. But what saved my marriage was not only feeling strength again, it was learning to use that strength with care. Vitality without care becomes a scare. Desire without conversation becomes fear. A secret inside a marriage becomes poison. First pinned comment. Everything is there. If it is for you, it will be. If it is not, that is okay. But do not let shame decide for you. And do not let pride speak louder than the health of the woman sleeping beside you. It is already past midnight here. Eleanor is in the bedroom. The lamp is on. The blue blanket is folded at the foot of the bed. I'm going upstairs slowly, lightly knocking on the open door and asking if I may lie down. She will probably say, "Stop being silly, Walter." But I will ask anyway. Because after almost losing the right person by doing everything in secret, asking permission became the most beautiful way I found to say, "I still choose you." Take care of yourself, whatever that means for you tonight.